a snowball goes hard, softly, the little lob snowball. So essentially, they have to break through the ice to get to advance in the game, again, by repeating that core phonetic sound. So those are a couple of game mechanics that are used in the game just to, again, elicit that participation, again, all strung together in the context of a story. So that's Tigatalk speech therapy games. Tigatalk, the second version, the Tigatalk storybook adventure, I think it was called. That one, the premise was that, and this, one aspect of this is Tigatalk is on the Aboriginal People's Television Network. So there's some Indigenous themes to the story. So, essentially we took a character within the game, a mischievous Indigenous character, that was represented by a whiskey jack bird. And what that whiskey jack bird has done is he's kidnapped your friend Ribbit, this frog character, this rapping frog, and he's taken away, using his magic, the voices of all the animals in the forest. So as the user, what you have to do is you have to go on this adventure to try and find your friend Ribbit by essentially interviewing the animals in the forest. But they've all lost their voices. So you have to give them their voices back. So let's say a snake, for example, you come across a snake, and to give the snake his voice back, you have to teach the snake back his or her voice, whatever, gender neutral. So, right? And so after a certain amount of that core phonetic sound being repeated by the user, the snake learns its voice back again, and it plays back the user's voice. So, and then an animation unlocks, and then the child gets a message saying that, oh, you've given the snake his voice back, and the snake goes, but it's repeating your sounds back to you. So you're practicing the sounds, and then you're hearing back the sounds that you're pronouncing. So again, thinking back to that accuracy piece, right? Are they being accurate? Well, this way we're giving them another level of feedback. So not just participation to unlock the voice, and then a playback recording of the sound you were making. Now, we did pitch shift that recording to match the animal. So maybe a snake being a smaller animal, or like a squirrel, we'd go higher pitch. For a bear, when they encountered a bear, we'd lower the pitch so it would be a lower pitch to the replay of the sound back. So we kind of matched the pitch to the animal character's voice, but we were replaying the child's pronunciation back. So that's essentially the mechanic that the second game used.
Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned you collaborated with the speech therapist. So, what are some of the parts of their contribution in this design work?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming
two parts.
The words like you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, certainly helping us define the problem, identifying the core phonetic sounds, because we obviously couldn't use every core phonetic sound. So we said, look, we've got room for, it was 18 core phonetic sounds. That's just essentially what we thought we could achieve within budget, and because we have a core phonetic sound for each level, so every time we add a core phonetic sound, there's a bunch of overhead to it. We have to design characters, we have to design a whole level around it. So she helped identify the 18 core phonetic sounds that are most common. Then she again showed us how she would interact with a child. And so that allowed us to think, okay, if we remove the speech pathologist, how should this app interact with a child? So, she said, well, what I would do is I would pick up this, and I remember she picked up like a dry erase marker from the table. It was like, okay, so imagine this is a frog. And she was like, the frog says, rrr, rrr, rrr. Can you say rrr, rrr, rrr? So she taught us that, right? And instantly we're like, well, okay, great. So there's our core game mechanic right there, right? So just personifying or creating some kind of character around, something that makes this core phonetic sound, and then have the child try to make it. So that was a really important part. And then, of course, as we're developing the game, we're showing her and asking her for feedback. And so she's saying, yes, that's good, that works, or no, maybe tweak this. And then once we got the game to a state where it was in a beta or alpha, we had her actually use it with some kids and give us feedback. So she could tell us, okay, the kids really had fun doing this, maybe not as much fun doing that, and that kind of thing. So we got a lot of positive feedback and the ability to sort of shape it from there. Yeah, that was the core involvement from the speech pathologist.
Does the speech therapist also have experience like working with games and apps design, or this is for her first time? How was that experience working with her?
Mind. Yeah, it was all very interesting, and just to be part of the process and see what it's all about.
And how was that experience working with speech therapists compared to, say, other domain experts?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's just having a lot of experience working with a lot of domain experts now. I think that it's more about, individual traits of a person rather than a specific domain that they're in. Anne was very open. She was excited by it, engaged by it. She was very open to providing feedback and receiving our recommendations in terms of how we thought things would work. So I think that openness and enthusiasm led to a very good collaboration.
And then you said she also handles beta testing with children. Did your team specifically went out and did user testing yourself, or she kind of just channeled all that user involvement with children?
Yeah, so basically we sent her a script of how we recommend doing the user testing, and she did it herself. And I think she brought in another speech therapist on her end to work with her to help as well. But essentially we provided some questions and this is what we want to learn. These are the questions we'd like you to answer for each of the students or each of her clients or patients. And so, yeah, so that was, it was done by her, but with our guidance.
I see. And through user testing, did you learn anything new about these two games over the course? And what type of children do you know if did they involve for testing?
Yeah, we certainly learned along the way, thinking to generally all of our kids' games we test, and we get feedback around fun. So how could we make something more fun? So sometimes we get good feedback there. We also see, do kids understand how to use the interface? So do they know how to progress to the next level, for example? In the storybook game, the second game, when you complete a level, two options come up. You can go here or you can go there. So basically two animal pictures come up, and then the child chooses which animal they want to go and try and talk to next. So we're just watching and getting feedback on that. So usability. So there's little usability tweaks that we make afterwards to make sure the interface works for the kids. And again, looking at how can we make a game more fun? Well, these snowballs need to go faster. The rocket ships need to fly faster, little things like that. Trying to think what else. I mean, that's probably the bulk of the feedback we were getting, because it was, for the most part, we got a lot of positive feedback. Like, they did enjoy the games. It was fun. It wasn't something that they already had. So it seemed to have that was good to hear too. It's not, it was serving a need, solving a problem that, didn't have a bunch of solutions out there for it at the time.
Mm-hmm. And you're right, because a lot of the apps are not voice based. They are kind of passive, receptive. You have to interact with the interface rather than actively talking. So have you learned about other apps that does that kind of voice control based game? Not just like